Hi everyone, welcome to this little quick chat here where I'm going to go live and talk to you about simplifying your classes. So if you're joining me live, I'd love if you could put something in the comments and let me know that you're here, and if you're catching me on the replay, just pop a replay in the comments. So I love knowing if you're watching and what you've learnt from the chats or hearing from you in the comments. It's always a bit of fun. So today I wanted to chat to you about simplifying your classes. So I know a lot of us here have different teaching styles and different ways that we've learnt to teach and different methodologies. So one of the things that I found that I really liked about the classical style of teaching is that it took away that kind of having to think about what to teach when you're teaching each class. And I think it also really led the clients towards a progression. So it helped them to slowly build on the things that they were learning each time. But what I love about the non-classical method is that we can use other exercises and use the reformer as a tool to kind of help guide our clients into some of those more challenging exercises, and we can get that little bit more creative with our exercises. So I'd love to hear in the comments if you are more classical in your teaching or contemporary or a mix, or how you would kind of describe your teaching. And so I think if you're starting out and you're new, sometimes you're not really aware of what your style is, and that's completely fine, and maybe your style changes over time. What I've found is that it was really important for me to feel a bit more connected to what I was doing and teaching, and because I was teaching so many classes, I liked having a way and a system for my teaching so that I was still engaged in what I was teaching, and it wasn't just like, what am I going to teach today? So when you're teaching in a more contemporary way and there's so many options for what you can teach, it can become a little bit overwhelming, and it can be hard to know what to teach. What are you going to teach them today? How are you going to make it different for them? And so I know that I found that really challenging. So pop something in the comments below. Let me know if you find that you feel worried that your clients are getting bored. You're always searching for variety for your classes, and you can sit there thinking about what you're going to teach to your clients and kind of get a bit stuck. So what I started to do was putting all the different methods that I've learnt together and create a bit of a system. And so I've been giving out that free guide, which has a system of the way that I would structure my classes. So always having an element of an ab series, something that involves the upper body, something that involves the lower body, something that brings it all together into a kind of full body sequence, or something that kind of connects everything you've been teaching in the class, and then something that starts the class and finishes the class. So if you haven't yet got that freebie, let me know in the comments. Just pop freebie and I can shoot that through to you, so you've got a structure and you can audit your class and see what's missing in your class. So that's the first thing that I found really helpful, was having a system and a structure that I follow. So when I sit down to think about teaching my clients and what I'm going to do, I'm not sort of thinking and worrying about what I'm teaching. I know that I'm going to start them, and I have some kind of go-to warm-up series that I like to use with my clients. So one thing I recommend is trying to create your own little system or structure so that it simplifies the way that you're going about doing things. So if you've got a system or a structure to your class planning, I'd love for you to tell me in the comments. Just pop system or structure or plan in the comments so I know. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that is and how that looks for you. So once I'd kind of nutted that out, I was like, okay, well, I'm always going to include this and this in my sessions. And when I started to teach other teachers how to do this, what I realized was that I really have some key elements and some key go-to exercises that I always teach in my classes. Now, I might not teach them every session, but I kind of rotate through these key exercises. And the way that I worked out what these key exercises were was that they were elements that I found as a beginner that clients needed to know and understand, so that they could then progress to some of the more advanced exercises. And I looked at the repertoire that I knew and learnt, and then realized that, well, there's some beginner and more basic exercises that we can up the ante of, and then there's some also more challenging exercises that we already know that we want to try and progress our clients towards. So some of my go-to sequences, and I've just been playing around with editing some of these videos for my HQ members. So that's what made me think of jumping on. So some of my go-tos are an ab series. So if we think about the advanced exercises, or thinking about those classical exercises we're trying to progress some of our clients to, we're thinking of our hundreds and our rollovers, thinking about corkscrew and controlled balance and coordination, overhead, all of these really challenging exercises. Then I want to think about, well, what are the elements within that we need to teach? So one of the elements that I like to have as a go-to series, and I work in variations, would be my ab series. So that's like your series of 5 ab exercises, roll backs, because they lead into so many other great things like our teasers and our rollovers. And we can create so much variety in how we do that, and also into our short box abdominal series. So they're kind of like a few of my go-tos that I work variety around for that ab series clusters. So what are some of your go-to abdominal series? What are some really key elements that you feel like are important for your clients to learn and understand, so that then they can progress through some of the exercises? I'd love for you to tell me in the comments. So one of the things I was working on this morning was like a plank series. So when we think about Pilates, we might not think of a plank straight up as one of the repertoire that was taught by Joseph and by the lineage of Pilates teachers. But if you think about the things that you need to be able to do some of the advanced exercises, then our planks are definitely in there. So thinking of your knee stretches, your down stretch, thinking about up stretch and control balance, control front and control back, and snake, they all need to have a base level of just a plank. Before you add anything else on, you need that skill and the strength to be able to do a plank. So one of the other exercises I'm working on at the moment in adding into the program for my clients to see is how they can progress from a kneeling plank and add variety to that, and then go into a full plank, and how that can kind of progress on towards long stretch and control front and all of those variations. So I wanted you to see that whilst there's lots of exercises you can do in your classes, having some kind of structure and some thought process as to where you want to take your clients and what you want to include in your classes is really going to help to save you time in how you teach your classes. So I'd love to know what your go-to exercise series is. What are the go-to things that you really want to teach your clients to help them? And how could you use this to create a structure? And if that's something that you would like help with, and you want some help in learning how to create a structure and how to use these go-to exercises, then let me know, and I'll reach out. Enjoy the rest of your day.